From a slew of amazing roles to a collection of films that he's directed that have just been pretty amazing. Tonight we're going to look at the films of Kenneth Branagh and also review Death on the Nile. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk about all things movies. Joining me, as always, is the other Real to Real talker, Paul Britton. Paul, tonight, we're going to look at the career of somebody who, some people love, some people hate, and there's a lot of in between.
Are there people that hate him?
Not hate him, but, there
are indifferent. There are people for whom Kenneth Branagh just never did anything for, but I can't imagine somebody's like, oh, I hate Kenneth Branagh because...
hate's a harsh word. Yeah. But people definitely have opinions about his work. And for a long time, I'm looking forward to this conversation because I'm someone who's been a fan of his work. But for a while there, he had sort of the reputation of being sort of self-centered, self-focused. But what I think I've learned about him is that this is a guy who has passions when it comes to the types of films he wants to do and the types of roles he wants to play. And later, when we talk about Death on the Nile, I think this is a classic example of a passion project that I'm actually excited about. So, Kenneth Branagh. So we'll start tonight by just sort of getting your overall impressions of the man and his career. Are you a fan, and what were some of the works that got you, connected to Kenneth Branagh?
Big fan, huge fan. Look, so the first movie that he directed was Henry V, which we So it was interesting because you mentioned let's talk about the films of Kenneth Branagh. I was like, I feel like we already did that. And like I went back and I looked and I said, oh wait, no, when Belfast came out, I was alone and I would not have done like I literally when I was alone, I just literally did movie reviews. So I wouldn't have done like a Branagh retrospective. And I'm like, why do I feel like we did? And then I remembered, oh wait, we did when Macbeth came out with Tragedy of Macbeth, we did sort of like our favorite Shakespeare if you do your favorite Shakespeare presentations in film, you're basically doing a of Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah.
Perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's why I felt and like so I mean Henry V came out and I mean I didn't see it in theaters, but it wasn't long after that it came out that it was available to rent in Blockbuster or whatever. And I definitely caught it at that point, really early on once it was released on video, and I just loved it. And it was right around the time that Dead Again was coming out. So I was like, oh, gotta go see Dead Again. And I'm OG Kenneth Branagh fan.
And as am I, and I'm glad I got to make that point because one of our viewers, Jennifer Wiley, I think sort of went right off my first comment and is defending the honor of Kenneth Branagh. And Jennifer, thank you for watching. We have a chance to take a look at the work of a guy who, like I said, has developed into not just one of the better actors of our time, but also a director, producer. And what I love about his filmography is it's very evident what it is that he's passionate about. The roles that he's played really lean toward your classic works of Shakespeare, and also obviously now the passion he has for playing one Hercule Poirot, which we'll talk about. Because Paul, I'll just jump right to it. I didn't remember that Murder on the Orient Express happened just a couple of years ago, right? And so this basically, I don't want to call it a sequel, but he's creating his own universe here with the Agatha Christie stories and his playing of this really iconic role. So I'm looking forward to talking about that because the night I got home from watching Death on the Nile, I immediately went to Prime, rented Murder on the Orient Express, and for the next couple of hours, just enjoyed A movie that I had completely skipped out on when it first came out. So,
oh, you hadn't seen it. You didn't see it before. Oh wow,
no, and
oh,
I
wow.
can't even tell you why I missed it, because I am a big Agatha Christie fan, and love mysteries and so forth. So,
had you seen the 70s Peter Ustinov ones?
No.
Okay.
I hadn't, and so again, but I knew the story because I knew where it was headed, and I guess my bigger point of it all is Kenneth Branagh chooses projects that, if he can direct it, he's going to,
Yeah.
and obviously the roles he chooses are extremely what's the word I'm looking for? He really embodies those roles.
Yeah.
There and almost, I don't want to say, I don't know if the phrase is to a fault, but you really get sucked in. And I'll tell you what I mean. HBO several years ago, this was back in 2001, did a movie called Conspiracy, in which Kenneth Branagh, it was Kenneth Branagh along with Stanley Tucci, and Colin Firth was in it, Kevin McNally, and he played Reinhard Heydrich, who was one of the most notorious Nazis during the course of World War II. He, along with Adolf Eichmann, came up with the basically what they put together in terms of their plan to exterminate the Jewish population. Yeah. This movie is about 90 minutes, and it's a recreation of the meeting that was held with all of the decision makers. Yeah. And his work in that film is chilling. And it's really a great example of how he embraces a role so completely that, and I go back to my love him or hate him role. You either hate the character he's playing because he wants you to, or you love the character he's playing because he wants you to. His is one of those his career is one of those works that just, I can't say enough about how much of a roller coaster he's taken me on with the different characters he's played.
Yeah.
I don't know if that you find that to be the case.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he really takes on sort of personas, what he does as an actor is very interesting. Where it's not something that like you would see the sort of what's his name that that was all the Oscars, and Jeremy Irons is stuck in my head, but I'm not thinking
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day-Lewis. It's not like the Daniel Day-Lewis type of taking on a character. It's a very unique sort of situation where, and I have to say, I love the Kenneth Branagh voice, like his recent penchant for taking on like silly accents, like he did with Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, which he directed, by the way, like he did with the Tenant, where like Russian accent or the German accent, like in Valkyrie and whatnot. It's so much fun to have him pop in and just be doing an ad. Even Hercule, as Hercule Poirot, it's just like, yes, Branagh doing an accent, I'm in for. I'm just absolutely in for. And like you said, he also can bring such a joy to a role. Like the way he plays Hal in Henry V. He has so much fun being Hal in Henry V, when he's playing Hal, and then and Henry V, he has to play Henry V as well, and the far more serious I'm king now and I have to be serious, and it's just his ability to go both to play both of those, have fun and love a role. Even like when he plays the dweeb in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I can't believe I can't think of the guy's name, but
find it right here. Gilderoy Lockhart.
I got it. Gilderoy Lockhart. Yeah, even when he's playing Gilderoy Lockhart, it's just like, yeah, I mean, that's
he's all in.
Fun. It's just like he just brings. He's always going to bring, something to a role, and I love it when he's bringing a fun thing, and I love it when he's playing a creepy, oligarch, whatever it may be. There's always something that he brings to it, and again, like you mentioned, love him or hate him. I don't think people hate him. I just think that doesn't always work for some people, and I can appreciate that, because it's a very different kind of energy, that he's bringing to the roles.
And that's the thing, is I look across his filmography, you really it's sort of, you think you can begin to categorize his films until you continue to try to, and then you get to this point where you're like, my God, he immerses himself in so many different levels and so many different types of stories, and obviously his passion for the classics. Say what you want about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It's something that he wanted to do, right? And a character he wanted to play. All of the Shakespeare related work that he's done, on the roles he's played, those are obviously passion roles for him. And that's what I think I appreciate most about his career, is that he embraces completely these roles, and has created the kind of career that allows him to do the projects he wants to do. And he's got the confidence is such a silly word to use in this regard, but it's rare.
Fair.
It's rare the director who will direct himself. Right.
And does it well.
And does it well. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you look at if you just look at the 2 Agatha Christie films, people want to work with him. Those casts are ridiculous. Phenomenal. Ridiculous. Exactly.
Ridiculous.
And this is why I think I appreciate him, is because others in the industry appreciate him.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, even look at his cast of his Shakespearean, like Hamlet is just filled with, the 4-hour Hamlet. Beefy and listen, I mean, here he did these 3 movies in a row. Thor, the first Thor movie, which is good. Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, and then the live action Cinderella. I mean, those are just so those are so not related to each other at all, other than their 3 IP, heavy IP movies, movies that just, like some directors would be like, oh, I don't want to get into that, but he gets into it and then he's out. It's not like the Russo brothers, who came in and just did a whole bunch of Marvel stuff. He came in, did Thor, and was done. It's like, okay, I'm good, and I think that's pretty interesting as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he has such an amazing filmography that covers so much. I mean, roles that he acted in, such as in Dunkirk, where it's such a quiet, reserved role, but so powerful within the context of that story. Tenet. I mean, it's like, goodness gracious.
I love him in Tenet. I love him as the creepy Russian oligarch. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Question for you.
Sure.
So, speaking of the range of his movies, like Belfast, even, I mean, it's just like, he goes from Artemis Fowl, which didn't go over well, to Belfast. It's so different, and you were not able to participate in Belfast. So what are your thoughts on Belfast?
The thing I loved about Belfast, and it was one of those things where it was like, golly, there are issues I have with this film in that it was hard to relate to. But in that was it, when you knew that it was this sort of autobiographical view of his life, it was because of my love for his work and for him as a person. It was easy to immerse myself just deep enough to feel like, man, like here's a guy who's telling us his story, and as slow as it was in some points, as much of a challenge some of it was to really relate to, it was still, and forgive me, I feel like I'm using such horrible words today, but it was a sweet film.
Yes,
that made you feel.
Yes, that's really what it's, and that's one, like, so that's one of, so it's hard to, this is, I think it's the perfect example of a Branagh movie, because it doesn't take a lot of chances, it but it's also really difficult to say I didn't like it. Like, at the end of the day, some of his movies, yeah, you could probably say it didn't like, but this is one where it's just like, it's genuinely good, and you could, it's really good. Is it great? I don't think it's great, but it's so really good that, yeah, people are going to nominate it for Best Picture, because it's that kind of movie. It's just the kind of movie that feels like, yeah, you know what, I could see this being nominated for Best Picture. Is it as interesting as Drive My Car? No. Is it as original as Licorice Pizza, and the way it follows its characters? No, but it does everything well, and that's kind of, I think, like 9 times out of 10, that's what you're gonna get from Branagh, is a movie that just does what it has to do well, when he's particularly when he's the director.
And he has done so much. Just if you just look at his filmography from a director's standpoint, again, so many of the films that he starred in, he has directed. But as you go through it, it becomes very evident again that he is in a place where he'll pick what he wants to do, and he's basically been at that point almost from the beginning. It just feels like his career has been self-created, and it's that rare moment where you learn to love his work because he is so consistent with it. And if I see that Kenneth Branagh is in a film, it's sort of the Stanley Tucci syndrome. I want to see everything that he's in.
Yeah, he pops up. If he pops up on the screen, I'm gonna smile. Like, there's just gonna, I'm just gonna be. And Tenet is a great example of that, where I wasn't even really expecting him to be in it, and he pops up, and it's like, oh, Kenneth Branagh, fantastic. I mean, that's not entirely true. I did know he was going to be in it, but it wasn't until, like, pretty much, like, it wasn't, or he didn't show up until, I think, the last trailer. He was not in much of the early promotions for Tenet. And so
and then there's moments such as being the distress voice of the Asgardian ship in Infinity War. I will tell you that from the moment I watched the film the first time, that voice is so recognizable that I was like, that's Kenneth Branagh's voice. And so he finds his way into little moments like that while he's not playing a full fleshed out role within the film, he's just sort of this the voice, right? And it sticks with you. So I don't know that it's even fair to ask you, do you have a top 5 with Kenneth Branagh? I mean, so much of his work is so good. But if pressed,
I mean, I will say that, yes, I definitely have. Like, so, I mean, do you want? I can definitely give you number 1. And honestly, it's almost not fair, but number 1 is his, and I'm only going to do the stuff that he's directed also. But number 1 is Henry V. Like, that is just definitely number 1. It's probably, no, it is. It's my all-time favorite Shakespeare adaptation. It's just a near perfect movie. And then in the top 5, in no particular order, you're going to have Murder on the Orient Express. You're going to have Much Ado About Nothing. Possibly Dead Again. Possibly Thor might pop up in there. That's probably, that sounds like it. With Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit being right on outside. If we included stuff that he's acted in, we're going to throw Tenet will be right up, in the 4 or 5 spot.
Gotcha.
Let me see here. Yeah. How about you?
Henry V, we're 100% in agreement on as my top. Within that 4, it could change, but the ones that I know, almost always have a solid position in that top 5 include I'm sorry, where did my list go? I lost.
That's okay.
There we go. Definitely Conspiracy that I mentioned earlier, because it is such a chilling role. His work in Dunkirk stands out to me, even though it was very small. I guess that recognizability being, you know what I mean? I as a fan of the Harry Potter series, I have to include his role as Gilderoy Lockhart, because not only was that character so pivotal to that story, it was one of those things where he went to the nth degree in portraying that role, and it's just such classic Branagh. I was going to say Wild Wild West, but I would have been joking. That might have caused you. Yeah. But I loved, as long as it was, I did love him in Hamlet. His work in the Shakespeare based movies that he's done is just so. It's where you want him to be. And so, but now I jumping into the top 5. And we're going to talk about this here in a moment. Isn't Death on the Nile, but it is Murder on the Orient Express. I really enjoyed that film, and seeing how he's played the role now twice, I can't deny that his you can see how much he enjoys playing the role of Hercule Poirot. I mean,
so let's transition. So we both agree Death on the Nile is way up there.
Yeah.
Transition us from Death on the Nile or Murder in the Orient Express to Death on the Nile. What were your feelings on Death on the Nile?
Death on the Nile for me was it was a tale of two halves. The setup for again, knowing the story, right? You go in knowing it's an adaptation of a story that if you follow Agatha Christie, you're going to know, the sort of the ins and outs. There are some wonderful creative things done with the film that make it wonderful for today. But I think that right from the outset, there was a pacing issue with the setup taking a little too long and getting really sort of bogged down. It's not until the mystery starts to be worked on by Poirot's character that the movie really picks up pace. The setup was what slowed it down in the beginning, because it was very close to melodrama, which is not what I was. It's not something I'm ever fully in on when a movie does this. Like it almost did too much character exposition in the beginning, to where I started to wonder, oh God, like, I really want to like this movie. It's beautifully shot. The color palette used for this movie is fantastic. There's some fun acting and good acting being done. The cast is amazing. I'm a big Armie Hammer fan. I don't know if I've ever told you. And yeah, it was one of those movies where it was headed toward a 3, and then it picked up. Act 3. Phenomenal. In my opinion.
I absolutely agree. Like it takes a while to get rolling. It really does. And I don't know. I haven't seen, I haven't seen the Peter Ustinov version. I haven't read the books. I don't know if it's just a flaw in the story itself, or like there's a funny little a part that I wouldn't want to lose, but maybe they should have lost, was the origin of the mustache. I like that, and I would like them to try to find a way to cut out more of the leading up to them getting on the boat, rather than the origin of the mustache. But it takes so long for them to get on the boat, that maybe you need to lose the mustache origin story. It just takes too long. I don't, and but like I agree, once they're on the boat and they have an opportunity, and honestly, even like once they're on the boat, it takes too long for them to get to the inciting incident. Like
exactly, for the crime to happen.
And I feel like this is an hour and 45-minute movie that ended up being 2 hours and 7 minutes, and it's clearly 15 minutes too long. And but I did like the denouement. So that it ultimately, the movie worked for me. But it does not have the pacing that Murder on the Orient Express has at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And that's a shame.
And again, having seen it after literally the night that I saw the Death on the Nile, what a difference. And what a difference in portrayal. Branagh actually changed up his portrayal of Poirot. And again, I wouldn't have known this until, after I saw the first one. But it was darker. And
sure. Yeah.
And it was almost, I remember I watched Murder on the Orient Express, and when it was finished, I thought, we need more of this. Like this Poirot, this, because he was much more, the charm was there, the humor, that twinkle in the eye, so to speak. But I think because of that origin story that we got at the beginning of Death on the Nile, it set the tone for this sort of more brooding Hercule Poirot portrayal that we saw Kenneth Branagh do. And the story itself, I think, again, the slow pace of it really, really sort of made everything else seem sort of off kilter. And I am kind of glad I saw Death on the Nile first, because when I finished Murder on the Orient Express, I felt better about this potentially continuing on as a franchise. I hope there's a third, because Agatha Christie has so much work out there that she did. So they could pull from so much. But I'm
afraid this was number one in the box office, but I don't know that it did well enough for people to be like, yeah, we're going to do a third, because people loved Murder on the Orient Express.
Oh man,
I just don't know if this is going to have the legs. Yeah.
Our friend Blair has an interesting point. Let me bring it up on screen, or if you would. He says Branagh suffers from the same ailment as Wynton Marsalis. He's too polished and assumes the world is such. Despite his surname, he is more English than Scottish. So,
well, he's not even Scottish. He's Northern Irish. So I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Come on.
But
go see Belfast, for Pete's sake. Learn a thing or two.
I mean, at the end of the day, Death on the Nile is one of those films that lovers of the story and of Agatha Christie's novels will rush to it. I'm hoping people will see it.
I agree.
And if you did miss Murder on the Orient Express, like I was silly to, throw that one in as well, because it's obvious he loves playing this character, and the cast follows. They just work so well in tandem with one another. And Death on the Nile is no exception. There were some characters that I wish we could have seen more of, but they're just. Go ahead, please.
I want to give a shout out. Russell Brand was in this movie. Did you know that?
Oh my goodness, yes.
My goodness, I didn't even realize it.
When you saw it?
Yeah, I had no idea.
Gosh. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, wait. Let me make sure I'm following you. You watched the film and then afterwards realized it was Russell Brand?
Yesterday, I saw it on Saturday, and yesterday I looked it up. I was just kind of doing a little bit of refreshing my memory, and I saw Russell Brand was in the movie. I was like, I can't even remember Russell Brand being in the. I don't even they're giving a character's name, and I'm horrible with names. It's like, who was he? I don't remember.
You recall who he was?
No, I don't.
He was the doctor that treated.
He was the doctor.
He was the doctor. It is.
Oh
it is.
God.
Let me tell you why I love this. Russell Brand so impressed me in this film.
Oh my God!
Wonderful.
I had no
He
idea.
was the doctor that was
mega shout out to Russel Brand.
Big time. Such a great.
He's
role.
my early favorite for best supporting actor. I'm sorry. I know we're super early on 2022, but. And I'm going to post this show from Blair. Russell Brand didn't make a spectacle of himself. He did not make a spectacle of himself.
So subdued. He wore spectacles. That's
a
very subdued role.
Oh my God. I want him in so many more movies now. And I'm not even kidding.
This is and again, I know this wasn't the Russell Brand episode, but it should be. The thing about Russell Brand in this particular role reminded me of gosh, why am I losing his name? He did the Borat movies. I can't think of the guy's name.
Sacha Baron Cohen.
Thank you. It was like watching Sacha Baron Cohen not being hugely funny. And listen, I want more Russell Brand if this is his range.
Really genuinely want more Russell Brand.
What a surprise and treat this was as part of this film. So there were points that Death on the Nile scored simply by the work of the cast. But it suffers from you got to get through that first
pacing
half.
The pacing of the first act it's just not good. Yeah.
But if you hang in long enough, those of you listening, you will enjoy the film. So here on Real Talk. I almost said the other show. We have a 5 taco rating scale that we use to rate our films. A movie can get as many as 5 tacos, but if you want to give it some extra love, you can throw on the guac. So, Paul, for Death on the Nile, what is your rating?
I'm going 3 in guac. It's a pretty standard movie. I really liked, but was definitely flawed. I mean, look, if I really like your movie, but there's some flaws, you're going to get 3 plus guac, and if the flaws are not fatal, if it had kept that pace throughout the whole movie from the first act, it was definitely like a 3, maybe 2 in guac, but definitely the third act is fantastic. 3 plus guac.
Yeah, well, keep that 3 plus guac up there because that's going to be my score. The guac is Russell Brand, believe it or not.
I give Russell Brand 5 plus guac. Honestly, that is fantastic. He's genuinely fantastic in that movie.
Seriously, the film is again, you got to get through it to really. I mean, you got to get through the first half to really enjoy it. But there are reasons for the guac, and again, a great portrayal, very emotional portrayal by Kenneth Branagh. Surprises like Russell Brand, and just a fantastic third act. Really makes this one to watch. And like I said, I hope that we will see at least one more opportunity to see Kenneth Branagh play Hercule Poirot because man, and they're both the mustaches are different in each film.
The mustaches are different.
If you go back, similar style, but very, very different. It's just really, I was happy that this film led me to Murder on the Orient Express because, we won't go too deeply into it other than to say, you got to watch. It's so much fun and so really perfectly paced. Like I loved it. That for I'll just say it, that's 4 plus guac for me. Murder on the Orient Express. So. All right. Well, make sure you check out the films of Kenneth Branagh and make sure you check out Death on the Nile. It is available in theaters and will be available on HBO Max March 2nd. So check it out. All right. So with that, we're going to remind you that you can find us on social media. You can look us up on Facebook. Just look up the title of the show, Real to Real Talk, and there you can talk with us. Post comments, let us know what you're watching, and you can see what we've been watching as well. Also want to remind you that on Instagram we are at Real to Real Talk, so make sure you check us out. When you get a moment, you'll see past show posters and so forth. And if you're watching on YouTube, which many of you are tonight, thank you so much for that. Please click that subscribe button and give us a like on the episode, and then go watch past episodes as well. Also, even though we broadcast live on Thursday nights, we do archive our episodes, so make sure you click that notification bell so you get prompted when we post an episode. So thank you all. I want to do a shout out to some of the folks who've been watching tonight. And we have a seemingly permanent audience. We want to thank our friend Blair Hollingsworth, and I believe you said Pastel Harper is a relation.
Yes, that's his daughter. So,
we thank them both.
And his other daughter sometimes on, but she hasn't commented. So I don't remember what her YouTube handle is, but yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we thank them for joining us, and we encourage you to do so as well. All right. I have a feeling, Paul, you want to get to what the hell did I just watch? You seem very excited, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah. So, oh boy, I'm gonna ask Harper to go away for this one. Okay, no. So this one's an adult movie. All right. So, you know what this is? Only
because I saw the.
You saw the banner.
It just hit me.
Yeah.
Please go on.
So there's a director and his name is Paul Verhoeven, and he has made some movies that have been racy. In the past, he's done Basic Instinct, which at the time was like, I mean, it was a spectacle of a movie, just in what it presented and the where it went as a movie. And then Showgirls was just literally all about showing as many boobs as humanly possible. Starship Troopers also did similar things, and then he kind of his movies didn't do well at the box office for a little while, and so he kind of went away. And then he came back a little bit ago, made a French movie, Elle. And then this year he came back and made a movie called Benedetta. And let me tell you, I don't care.
The trailer.
I don't care what your opinion of the steamy raciness of Paul Verhoeven movies is. This is just going to redefine all of that. Like, you are literally going to be like, I cannot believe that this, like, this, it is the he throws up on camera on this are like, I mean, just, oh my God. And did you know that Paul Verhoeven's a religious person?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah. And apparently he is, because there's no way you don't make this movie the way you make it without believing that some people do things for Jesus and do some really interesting things for Jesus. And if you like whittling and woodwork, there's an interesting scene where somebody does some whittling of a statuette and puts it to good use. And yeah, it's so interesting. Like, I don't know how to talk about this one without like,
well,
this movie,
I was going to say, I remember us watching we watched the trailer, I believe, at the same time, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself that while the raciness was good to be expected, it definitely had a very different tone. And again, just talking about the trailer. It sounds like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, like, the what the hell am I watching thing it's super heavy. Like the religious overtones on I mean, it and it's not, I mean, there's some of the, it's more, it's like spiritualism is great, organized religion sucks is kind of where the lane that it tries to get into, I feel like. And look, I mean, it's an interesting movie, but man, it's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
There's just no way you don't watch this movie and like, I mean, things happen.
I imagine this was a limited release kind of thing when it first came out. Because
well, I mean, it came out in December. Like, this is not,
and
then
not a new film.
No, it's relatively.
Well,
new.
I mean, by new, I mean it wasn't in the last week or two.
Right.
So where did you find it? Was it
VOD? It's on VOD. Like,
okay, gotcha.
And like you said, it was a limited release. It was available on VOD pretty quickly. Like this. Okay. And this is what movies have to do, by the way. If there are any movie executives watching, like, don't make us wait anymore. Like, if you're going to limit the release stuff, like within a month, VOD. Like, if people are talking about it and then I have to wait 2 months before it's on VOD, you have a problem. Like, just get it out there. And Benedetta definitely got it out there pretty quickly. Although I didn't watch it until just this past week. This has been on my to-do list for a little while, and I didn't have a Branagh film that I wanted to throw out there as a what the hell did I just watch? And I didn't feel like there was really a good Shakespeare. I just was like, all right, I'm slotting in Benedetta now just because I've been sitting on it for a while. And oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Well, when you put religion and race together, you're not going to get anything that's not going to be controversial. So Yeah.
Paul Verhoeven. I mean, come on, man.
Well, that's true. Yeah, add Verhoeven into the mix, and yeah, you know what direction it's gonna go. So
yeah.
All
Check it
right.
out, baby, man. I'm telling you, check it out. It is definitely like I highly recommend everybody who the movie is age appropriate for to check it out.
Gotcha. All right. Well, you can find Benedetta on video on demand,
VOD.
and
Yep.
you can see Paul every week bring us his version of weirdness, as he will always have some interesting stuff for us on What the Hell Did I Just Watch? So, Paul, thank you as always for making life interesting.
Yeah.
All right. This week, we have another installment of Real Good TV, and I'm going to take you into the world of science fiction for just a brief moment. Because again, I'm using this segment to encourage folks to watch certain television series or shows from the past, more recently, and so forth. In some cases, and then I'm also going to be exploring some of the series that I haven't given a chance to. And one of the ones that I have been revisiting over the last few weeks, here and there, not every day, but is a series that I've gone through actually twice, and I love science fiction. And from a kid, from its original incarnation to its reimagining in 2004, I have always been a huge fan of the Battlestar Galactica franchise. And if you've not seen it, if you're into sci-fi and you haven't given this show a chance, you really need to, because not only do they take you through the classic story of, the Cylon attack on the human race and so forth, boy, do they explore in 4 awesome seasons some really interesting concepts that include spirituality and so forth. And it's just a fun cast, a fun show. It is senseless, not senseless, but mindless humor and action and all that you want in a cheesy sci-fi series that was updated. Because if you go back to the original, late 70s, early 80s, boy, you want to talk about cheesy. I can't say it aged well from a humor standpoint, because you're like, okay, but yeah. So if you haven't had a chance to check out the 2004 reimagining of Battlestar Galactica, that is this week's Real Good TV. Find it. It is on Paramount if you have a membership. If not, get one. There's a lot of great content on Paramount Plus. So
Blair has a question for you.
Yes.
Before we move on.
What is the question? Let me get to it.
I'll show it up on the screen.
No, I have not.
Sorry.
That is not one that I have. But tell me about it, Blair, when you get a chance, and I will look it up. So, all right. So this week we have a real quick review. And Paul, you brought this one to us.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you get us started, because
Netflix release. Yeah, we got a Netflix release, and not just any Netflix release, but it's another one from fan favorite Steven Soderbergh. So anytime Steven Soderbergh's making a movie and I have it available to me super easy and I can just sit on my butt and watch it, I'm sorry, I said Netflix. It's HBO Max.
HBO Max, yeah.
HBO Max release, and it's exclusive to HBO Max. Kimmy came out this week on HBO Max, starring Zoe Kravitz as me, but as Angela. Kimmy is a sort of Alexa, Amazon competitor. Like it's clearly a competitor. Like they mention, the movie opens with them interviewing the CEO, and they're like, hey, how is this different than Alexa and Siri? And so clearly in this world, Alexa and Siri are a thing. Kimmy is a completely different thing. And there's a young woman who I don't know if she's agoraphobic or just has social anxiety issues. It's definitely the world of COVID. And so, the COVID is clear, she makes it clear that COVID has made things worse. Her job is actually, she works with the company that runs, that manages Kimmy. And she's somebody who reviews audio clips of Kimmy not successfully understanding a question and getting a question wrong, and then fixes Kimmy so that in her repertoire of knowledge, if somebody asks a similar question in the future, Kimmy will be able to answer it correctly. And in doing so, she hears something that sounds like a murder. And so it's all about her trying to unravel the murder. But the problem is that the company's about to go public and they don't want her to unravel the murder. So there's a bit of corporate espionage. There's a bit of, a person overcoming her social anxiety / agoraphobia. I don't know. So there's the summary. Sergio, what did you think?
So I watched the film, and when you and I first spoke of this last week, you actually said it was a Soderbergh film. But in the several days that passed since then, I had forgotten that fact. And Blair is right on. Rear Window is exactly what I was going to reference as sort of a similarity to this
100%. 100%.
Absolutely. And so I watched the film. It's only 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it said, it finished and directed by Steven Soderbergh. And I was like, this was Soderbergh?
Yeah.
I great concept.
I don't
bad execution.
Yeah,
bad execution. It felt like a made-for-TV movie.
It really did, and the way that they interlace storylines felt amateurish. It felt amateurish, and it's like, and this was my problem. What was another movie that did this? His actually, interestingly enough, last Soderbergh movie, where I look it up for the name. No Sudden Move, where I loved the first 2 acts of No Sudden Move. I'm not going to say the same thing for Kimmy, but No Sudden Move was a 5 taco movie for me until the 3rd act, where it like the sort of like the driving force behind everything was like, really, I mean, I don't feel like we needed to go there, but okay, if that's where you want to go, that's fine, that's your thing. For Kimmy, same exact thing, although I don't think the first 2 acts were as good to carry the movie. I actually genuinely liked the very, very, very end. Like the final like action scene, I thought was super fun and interesting.
Yeah,
but this is one of those instances where it's like that was a little too little, too late.
Right. Right.
So
I mean, when your biggest cast member is Rita Wilson, that kind of tells you. The biggest problem I had with this film, amidst many, was I don't know if you'll agree, but this was a 90-minute movie that could have easily been an hour for all the moments in which it took her to walk places. And, and just to get out, the whole social anxiety storyline, agoraphobia, perhaps, adjacent. It was too much time was spent on those journeys. You could have portrayed that with perhaps music or, something in the editing was such that it just went on and on and on. These sequences of her moving from place to place.
Yeah.
Even the resolution in the last act.
Yeah.
Took it. It was filler, and you only had a 90-minute movie.
And honestly, I'm going to go another way. I'm going to say I would have even given you another 15 minutes if you actually made sense with this, like came up with a better story and showed a lot more of the behind the scenes machinations going on so that we understand what's going on and why it all happened and how it actually ties together, rather than just kind of like, oh, this is what, and then it's just like, oh, but and done it. Took it in a different route, because I'm not saying that more and the ultimate resolution is the same. I'm saying change the resolution and build it, actually spend the time to build it. But so
on a total silly note, I don't know why it bothered me so much, the mismatched thugs. I don't know why that bugged me.
That bugged you? I thought it was funny.
Well, it was funny. It was funny, but it was like I couldn't take it seriously. And then, without giving too much away, in these types of films, the thugs always get it in the end.
Yeah.
the way that all plays out was clever, but it was
really
almost,
that's what I'm saying is I genuinely liked that scene.
So it was interesting. Don't nail guns don't need a cord, or maybe it's me.
No.
Are they portable? So
sure,
okay.
Battery power. Why not?
All right. Well,
why not?
So your taco rating for Kimmy, Paul, or would you like me to start?
No, I'll give it. Honestly, it was 2 tacos throughout until the very end, and I'm gonna give it guac because I genuinely liked the ending. Honestly, it probably didn't earn the guac enough, but I'm gonna give it to it. I'm being nice.
Well, take away the guac, and you'll be right where I'm at, because two tacos for me on Kimmy. It only gets that second taco because I got through it. So it wasn't an absolute loss, but you really needed to give me more for it to get 3. So
I like Zoe Kravitz. The things I did like. I really like Zoe Kravitz. I thought she was really good throughout, and but there were problems.
Yes, there were, but hey, that may be our opinion only. So you go check it out. You can find it on HBO Max if you have the service. So make sure you check out Kimmy and let us know what you think. Because again, don't let us decide for you. Make sure you watch the films and decide for yourself.
Right.
All right. Well, this past week, Paul, we lost a cinematic giant, Ivan Reitman, who has had the just a when I looked at his filmography, I was insane. Like, wow, just and I will say that, and we had this conversation privately, you and I don't mind saying this on air. I was not the biggest purveyor of Ivan Reitman's films. I didn't see a lot of them, but I saw enough of the most popular ones that I want you to sort of take us through this retrospective and talk a little bit about what this man's career meant to cinema.
So Ivan Reitman is I look at Ivan Reitman as an amazing baseball player. Like, he's like the Ted Williams, where guess what? Ted Williams in a great year hit 400. Like he only got on base 40%, but Ivan Reitman, only hit like home runs 30% of the time. But damn, if those 30% of his home runs aren't like some of the most iconic movies ever made. So his big breakthrough was as a producer. I mean, who has their name another famous director who, before being a director and making your first directorial debut as Meatballs in 1979, produces Animal House? I mean, come on. I mean, Ivan Reitman was involved with some of the most iconic comedies through the late 70s and all the way through the 80s. Producer of Animal House, director of Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters. He did those 3 in a row. Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters. If Ivan Reitman had never made another movie after that, those 3 would be like, he's one of the, he's one of the greatest comedy directors of all times. He did Legal Eagles, which at the time, I mean, the cast was insane, and it had Robert Redford. So that was a big summer movie release. It had a video that Night Moves that was like, a huge success. But then he follows that up with Twins. I mean, Twins was huge, and then sure, he did Junior a few years later, which brought back Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that didn't work. But before he got to that, he did Dave. Dave's another one that it's like, oh my god, he did Dave. Like, what? That's insane. I mean, it's just crazy his ability to come in and just take these comedies and just make them huge things. Never mind that, like, he produced 93 movies. He was producer for where is it, he was producer for Heavy Metal. He was a producer for Casual Sex, which was a big movie in the late 80s. He was a producer, he was producer for Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Blair, come on. I mean, that tells he produced Beethoven. He produced, I mean, Space Jam. He was a producer for Space Jam, for Pete's sake. I mean, these are huge movies, and I gotta say, there you I'm not a film snob where it's like, oh, art films are better, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I am, I do believe that in the realm of movie theaters, there in the realm of film, there is space for popular stuff, and there's space for art fare. And if you're gonna be making popular comedy, I want Ivan Reitman producing it. That's all there is to it. Like, because I know for a fact, it might not always work, but damn if it's not just going to be ready to work. Sometimes things don't necessarily come in, but 40 to 50% of the time it's going to be amazing. And so I'm in. Let's do it.
It took when we first talked about it, I felt like, okay, am I really one that's qualified to talk about Ivan Reitman and his films? And it took going back through his filmography to realize, I had seen quite a few. I can't say that I liked all of them.
No,
I was not a fan of. I was not a fan of Junior. I was not a fan of 6 Days, 7 Nights. I loved Evolution, by the way.
Okay,
but the movies that you named earlier that are really the ones that he'll be remembered for. Meatball Stripes, Ghostbusters. The thing about those films is, especially Ghostbusters, is number one, they can be revisited and they still have staying power. And so, even a film like, Twins, Kindergarten Cop that he was involved with. I mean, they're great, and he brought a lot of joy and a lot of laughter through his films. And I know that when I'd heard the news, I was like, oh man, I know that I can't say that I knew we were going to have this conversation, but this was a giant in the world of cinema that we lost.
His IMDb page as a producer has 27 films and upcoming projects. 27 upcoming projects. So I mean, that just tells you it's he was prolific. He was prolific. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, on behalf of all of us here at Real to Real Talk, to the family and friends of Ivan Reitman, we give you our best, and we thank you, Ivan Reitman, for all of the memorable work you have left us. Because I'm sure a lot of these films were movies that got us into movies and really, really helped us to start to fill out what our interests were long term. Now, you said something earlier that there's room for more than just art films or such. There's good films. Popular. Are you finally agreeing then that there's room for?
No, there is no room for movies where you can't actually see what's going on. That they could make a radio serial out of that. That's where that belongs.
You gave me the opening to Flash the Banner, so I had to take it.
I know.
All
yes,
right.
there is room for 13th Warrior, Sergio.
Oh, you're just trying to make me feel good. So.
No, I genuinely mean that. People like it. There's
room for it, but just for people like me. So.
It'd be nice if they actually made them better, but that's fine.
Oh man, I've been waiting for this moment. All right, we can retire that banner now. So
no, we can't. I'm actually curious. Who didn't somebody really famous direct that? 13th Warrior?
Yes. Well, no, not
director. Yeah, John McTiernan.
John
that's
McTiernan. Right. Yes, it is McTiernan from the absolutely.
Yeah, like again, 400 or 500%. Just give me that, and I'm happy. So
there you go.
John McTiernan it definitely qualifies for in that realm.
This is true. All right. Well, it has been another fun episode here. What's coming soon? I know we've got some big stuff coming here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, brother. I mean, Batman comes. We got 2 weeks for that. Like, so, if you're excited for us to cover the Batman, join the crowd. But for in the meantime, actually 2 weeks until it's released. So, anyway, this week, the next 2 weeks are tough, and we'll have a conversation offline about what we're going to be doing over the next 2 weeks. But we got Marky Mark and Spider-Man and Uncharted this week. And then the week after, Cyrano finally gets its wide release, which your mileage may vary on that, Sergio. I'm not sure.
No, I'm interested. I'm a huge Dinklage fan. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
You're not a huge musical fan, though. Did you know that they turned it into a musical?
I did. But because I know that you're going to want to watch it, so I'll watch it so we can have a combo about it.
Okay.
So, indeed. But yeah, so we'll look forward to our next few weeks of episodes. We encourage you to join us. And once again, those of you watching tonight on YouTube or Facebook, we appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you again real soon. Paul, thank you so much for another great episode. We had a lot of fun.
Yes, super, super fun.
All right. And a big thank you to all of you out there, whether you're watching this live or later. Remember, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next time on Real.